Hello and welcome to our review of Veronica Mars. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And this week we are discussing the second episode of Season 2, My Big Fat Greek Rush Week. This episode originally aired October 10th, 2006. Alright, so let us start off. Number one song in America, It's Still Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake. Let's just
Yeah,
move past that.
yeah.
Number one film in America. Any guesses what it could be, Mr. David? It is not still The Departed. It is a different film that is more seasonally appropriate.
Oh, okay. Uh, hmm.
Technically, so you've seen the first of it's part of a franchise. You've seen the first one. I know for sure. I don't know if you've seen it.
Okay, for that. And again, you mentioned seasonally appropriate.
Yep.
Uh, uh,
Any guesses?
Nothing immediately coming to mind. No.
It is The Grudge 2.
Oh, it was that. Like, it was kind of bouncing between, like, typical comedy series and whatnot at the time, but then there was the one or two horror films that I was thinking of, but I couldn't place it if it was something either like supposedly The Grudge, but then I had things either with like maybe one of the later on Screams, or if it was like something like the Chainsaw Massacre or something.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to video games. There's not a ton really this week of interesting stuff, although there's some funny stuff that I want to talk about. So, October 5th, if you had a PC, you could pick up Desperate Housewives the game.
Yeah. Like in some cases I can somewhat understand, but also kind of the case of, do you know your audience, people? Like, really? Really?
Now, I don't claim to be an expert on Desperate Housewives, but it's like a mystery show. I don't know how you turn it into like a good game.
Like, starting with it, it at least can be a fairly decent mystery sort of stuff, possibly, like point and click, maybe. But even after that, it's like, that's about as much as you're gonna get.
And also, it's like the fan base for that show, I feel like probably isn't going to be playing many video games. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, it did fairly well. It sold 400,000 copies.
I suppose, but then it might be a weird present that little Timmy got for Christmas, or uh, got for his birthday and/or Christmas that year. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird choice, but whatever.
Hmm.
Moving along here, October 8th, if you had a PC, PS2, or Xbox, you could pick up Scarface, The World Is Yours.
Which again is understandable, and I think that was still fairly good for when it was kind of released, but still kind of a case of saw it on store shelves, but still kind of a case of I have no idea what this is at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, it was basically just a GTA clone.
Hmm.
Like, whatever. Um, and on the day this episode aired, there's a couple of releases here. October 10th, so if you had a Nintendo DS, you could pick up Crash Boom Bang, which is some kind of Crash Bandicoot party game that I do not remember ever releasing.
Like in some cases, I can somewhat understand what the Nintendo DS is somewhat connected to Italy, but again, it's kind of the case of, gosh, Crash Bandicoot tried to stay somewhat relevant around the time, but oh boy, the methods it took.
On the same day, if you had a PSP, you could pick up the port of Gun.
Again, decent enough thing to place on the portable system.
Something that you'll have to explain because I don't know anything about it. Also on October 10th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up Tales of the Abyss.
Ah, yes, a very marvelous Tales game that came out for the PlayStation 2. Very much neat.
And finally, also on October 10th, if you had a GameCube, PS2, Xbox, or Game Boy Advance, you could pick up The Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning.
Yeah, because Spyro was trying to stay somewhat relevant, and they decided to do a brand new origin story with the voice actor that worked as Bilbo Baggins.
Yes, they had a couple of voiceovers here. So Elijah Wood plays Spyro, Gary Oldman is uh, Ignatius, and David
Hmm.
Spade is Sparks.
Yeah, yeah. Like, in some cases, understandable within the boardroom, but once getting into the gameplay and letting the people play it, it's kind of the cases of, I understand, but also why?
Wasn't this also where they decided they wanted to make Spyro like dark and edgy? Kind
Oh
of.
no, it was the case of one of the characters that within the story got caught up as being dark and edgy.
Oh, okay. Okay, I don't remember it.
But then before you continue on, since I have the list as well, another particular release that came out on October 10th on the PS2 is a game known as God Hand.
Okay, what is God Hand?
Well, my dear friend, God Hand is absolutely ridiculous and stupidly hard.
Okay. Oh, it's a beat 'em up by Clover Studio. I'm not familiar with them, am I? Oh, they did Beautiful Joe.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
So
a
they
particular thing that they worked on with trying to do something a little bit more out of the wheelhouse of stuff that they've been working on. And oh boy, did they ever. It was just, who, all the
like
craziness.
is it difficult because it's poorly made, or is it difficult because it's like legitimately challenging?
Difficult because of the case of certain particular things don't work out too well, but it's also intentional because certain things that enemies can do to you, you can also do to enemies. But whether or not you'll be able to, it's kind of up to your own skill.
Okay, so it's a combination of the game's meant to be hard, but it's also kind of broken.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay. Alrighty, well, let us move on to the episode then. Here we go. So, we see a police officer is interviewing Parker about her assault, but she does not remember any of it. Veronica tells Sheriff Lamb that she ran into the room and heard Parker having sex, and Parker berates her for not checking to see what was happening. First off, I hate fucking Sheriff Lamb in this because he says something that's really fucking stupid, and I really wish Veronica would have just punched him in the throat.
It would have been nice, but it wouldn't have matched up that well within the scene. But yeah, I'm pretty much with you on that there.
Keith hikes through the desert after fleeing from Cormac Fitzpatrick. Cormac later realizes that Keith has disappeared and starts following him. Wallace and Logan, sociology professor, recruits volunteers for totally not the Stanford prison experiment. It's totally something different. This is totally an original thought he had all on his own.
Those.
Are you familiar with the Stanford prison experiment?
Yeah, quickly checking the blurb to see what things there, but after seeing and whatnot from the episode, wasn't super familiar with it.
Okay, so the Stanford prison experiment was something that they did in, I think it was like the early 70s. It was supposed to go on for, I think, a week, and they had to shut it down after like 2 days. Oh, it was designed to be 2 weeks. Sorry.
Ah,
And basically, the whole thing was like, it's basically the same thing that happens in this episode, where like the students are divided into guards and prisoners, and then like the students who are guards become like super abusive really quickly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Veronica interviews for a photography position at the college newspaper, but the editor tasks her with writing an expose of the Theta Beta sorority where Parker was during the night of her rape. Parker's parents appear at Hearst and announce that they are going to remove her from the college in light of her assault. During the investigation, Veronica poses as a potential recruit, but she does not notice any suspicious activity. In the sociology experiment, Logan is assigned the role of a prisoner, while Wallace acts as a guard. And they make a side bet about whoever wins this experiment, the loser has to streak through the campus.
Mm.
And I do kind of like Logan and Wallace kind of being friends now.
Yeah, sort of seeing it, but still, yeah, bit of
Like,
hesitance with it. But nah, it's an interesting aesthetic between the two.
they're not buddies, but they kind of get along.
Mm-hmm.
While tracking Keith, Cormac gets stuck in a bear trap. His brother Liam appears and shoots him. Veronica is invited to attend a private party, which she believes will be the key to her expose. At the party, Veronica encounters Dick and learns that Parker's room was easily accessible. Veronica pretends to be drunk in order to ascertain whether or not the sorority members collaborate with the rapist, but they just end up driving her home. And also, one of them leaves her a voicemail the next day telling her that she shouldn't drink so much. So they actually seem like they're legitimately decent people.
Yeah.
The police search Kendall's apartment, but they only find a small amount of blood. In the fake prison during the experiment, the guards use sleep deprivation and verbal abuse to induce the prisoners to give them the information that they want. Returning home, Keith cries and tells Veronica that he made a mistake. The guard puts one prisoner in solitary confinement. Veronica learns that a student, Mo Flatter, took Parker home the night of the attack. She confronts him, but upon further investigation, she accepts his alibi. Veronica learns that the main surveillance camera of the sorority was in the dead mother's room. The prisoners in the experiment successfully escape from prison. Veronica breaks into the room that is under surveillance and finds that they are growing marijuana. Hell yeah! Veronica types up her expose and hands it into the newspaper editor, but before it is published, one of the sorority members informs Veronica that they are growing cannabis in order to aid the den mother's cancer, because she has to go for chemo, and then the marijuana helps her with the nausea and other such things. Veronica cannot stop the publication of the article, but she warns the sorority about the potential repercussions nonetheless. Mac tries to convince Parker to stay at Hearst. The prisoners believe they have won the study, but the guards have tricked them into winning, allowing them to escape. Keith tells the police the story of Kendall and Cormac's deaths. Keith gave Kendall a valuable painting disguised as money in a case, and Cormac tried to kill Kendall. Keith gets this case's contents. Liam killed McCormick out of anger that there was no money. The episode concludes with Logan streaking through sociology class, fulfilling a bet made earlier in the episode. Also, Keith takes what we find out is a Van Gogh painting to some kind of auction house and says that the proceeds should go to the Neptune Food Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, did you notice any big guest stars in this episode?
Quite honestly, a whole bunch of them, though sadly it was kind of ones I knew of but didn't immediately recognize, aside from one.
And who was that?
So the one super big one, completely showing the particular things with me growing up, was Ryder King Strong, playing as one of the students acting as the guard and being very verbally abusive.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, he played Sean Hunter in Boy Meets World. There was another big one, though, that I'm a little surprised you didn't catch.
Well, it's a case of, caught him, knew him, but not immediately kind of recognizing him until sort of looking a little bit more into him. But I think it's the case of a Mr. Daniel Lewis Castaneda.
Yeah, Dan Castellaneta, who is the voice of Homer Simpson. He plays the sociology professor in this episode, which I was quite happy with because I love The Simpsons. Yes. So, what did you think of this episode, Dave?
Again, it was interesting with the kind of concepts that it went into, and I think also kind of going a little bit more into kind of the concept of the certain basis within the series, because especially with going from previous seasons into this one, either because of the speed that certain things have to go or just with the storytelling that they're kind of going with, that just giving a bit more consequence to certain actions that Veronica kind of takes to try and get things figured out and solved, and just the actions of what kind of happens in those sort of cases. The biggest one that obvious one is just with her selling the story of the marijuana being within the sorority house, but then finding out the reason for it and just all the issue. But also the case of her being drunk to try and figure out things from there, but then actually running into decent people being like, hey, let's maybe get you home so you don't have issues.
Yes. So I thought this was a good follow up to the season premiere. It's none of these episodes are like terribly fun because of the overall mystery that we're dealing with, but I
Hmm.
thought there was some good stuff in this, and I enjoyed seeing Dan Castellaneta in a live action role, which we very rarely see.
Hmm.
And also,
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
Not what's my thought. It's just also the case of again seeing a little bit more of the dynamic between uh, with getting names right with Wallace and uh, Logan with their action within the project and whatnot, and that whole side story that Logan kind of had his bigger moment and whatnot, but Wallace also had his uh, eh, not not too sure of the word, but just the way of his acting within the project and whatnot from there. But then biggest thing is just with Ryder Strong fitting within his character, going along with it. Just for this episode, had that little bit of bias within me. It's like couldn't place the difference between previous characters seeing him as this character. Case of who he is savage, but interesting enough to see the dynamic and whatnot with that project that was there as well.
Yeah, yeah, I like that, and yeah, I thought this was quite a good episode.
Mhm.
So next week we'll be discussing the episode Wichita Linebacker.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, Veronica helps a football player retrieve his stolen playbook. Meanwhile, Piz gains a job at the college radio station, and Veronica meets Dean Odell, who's another fun. There's a couple of fun guest stars in this one too. For the first time after she gets in trouble for events related to some of the things that happened in My Big Fat Greek Rush Week.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's going to be fun.
Hmm.
I wonder if you're going to notice who the guest stars are this time, because there's a couple of interesting ones. But
Radios,
I think it'll
radios.
be good. So,
Hmm.
if there's nothing else, I've been Paul.
Not been Dave.